Alright, so tonight I'm going to be changing a starter on a 97 Subaru Legacy. Starter's been going in and out, randomly not working. I'd have to hit it a few times to get started, and now it's actually to the point where it won't start no matter how much I hit it. So I'm doing it in my driveway at night. I was going to try to pull it in, but yeah, here's what we got. So the starter is actually pretty easy spot right up top there. Looks like I may have to get some of this stuff out of the way, like the hoses and whatnot. I might be able to work around it. I'm going to try to do that first. But first thing I'll do is unhook the battery. Alright, I was able to get it started and get it in the garage. I'm working right now on the bottom nut. It's a 17 millimeter. I was able to crack it loose very slightly, but still not enough to get it all the way off. And it's really hard to get in there because I'm kind of cramming my arm behind all those hoses. So I'm going to jack up the car and see if I can get to it from the bottom. It looks like I have an opening, so I should be able to. Because the top one will be easy to get to. But I'm figuring I start with the bottom one since it's harder. Get that out of the way. But not having much luck going through the top unless I want to unhook those hoses. But then I'll lose coolant and stuff like that. And I don't really feel like dealing with that. So I'm going to see about jacking it up and see what we got going on underneath. Okay, so here we are underneath it. And you can see the nut right up there, kind of right by where that blue thing is, right under it slightly to the right. Not sure how well you can actually see it, but it's right up there, so I can get up there with a long extension and a wobble socket, so should be pretty easy. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that and then move on. Alright, so I got the top bolt loose and it's just about out. The starter's out, kind of flopping there. The top one was a 14 millimeter. All I needed to use was this ratchet with a 14, a short one, and then the swivel head. Swivel head mainly because of this tube right here. Because if it was straight, I would have been just hitting this tube and I wouldn't be able to, but I was able to kind of cock it over this way and loosen it. So yeah, and then once it was pretty loose, the starter started to drag, so I used my left hand to unthread it by hand and then my right hand to hold it up so that it doesn't have a bunch of pressure on it. So yeah, now I'm going to see if I can wiggle it out. Not sure if I'll be able to, but I'm going to try. Alright, I didn't film it because there was a lot of struggling, but I got the starter out. I was able to wiggle it out through here. So I did take off one of these hoses. I took off the brake booster one. It's just a clamp right there and pulled right off, and that gave me enough room. The biggest thing that was in the way was this AC line, but I was able to get it loose, wiggle it, and then kind of turn it so the teeth, like the part that comes out, facing towards the bottom, and I was able to kind of wiggle it out. The top AC line I was able to just push over to this way. And these other ones are pretty malleable, so I was able just to move those out of the way. It was a bit of a struggle, but I got it. And then I put the new one back in the same way, so I'm working on the top bolt right now. Alright, so I finished up. It wasn't the most thorough thing to show, but there's not a whole lot of room to really show. I mean, you would have just been seeing me struggling there. So one thing I forgot to film was the nut for the positive was a 13 millimeter of all things. I didn't expect that. I was expecting like a 10 or a 12, but it was a 13. And I actually dropped it, lost it, but I had another one with the same thread, so I was able to put it on. And to get it back on and tightened, I had to use a little stubby, just because of the room you got to work with. So I got these stubbies here that work great for that. Ratcheting ones would be fine too, but sometimes they're a little too bulky, so yeah. And then the bottom one, super easy. I just used the extension like I showed you earlier, which is actually this exact thing right here. Just a couple extensions, the little wobble guy here, and then the socket, just a little 17 millimeter. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put the positive battery terminal back on and try to start it up. Alright, so here's going to be the first start. I'm just going to use the remote start for it. See if it works, otherwise maybe I had other issues. Okay, not sure what that's all about. Alright, well it looks like the starter isn't actually engaging. You can hear it spinning, but I don't think the little Bendix thing is actually shooting out to engage the flywheel, which is a problem. This is a brand new starter that I bought. Of course it's a Chinese eBay one, but still, yeah, I guess I gotta pull it back out. So we'll see what happens, and I'll test it on the ground here and also compare it to my old one. It fit right in just like my old one, so I don't think that's the issue, but we'll see.